What if a prince walked into a lion's den of gossip and spotlights, only to discover the real trap was his own unspoken regrets? And why would he risk it all on live TV, where every word could rewrite history, or unravel it? The studio lights pulsed like a heartbeat, casting a warm amber glow over the sleek set of The Wendy Williams Show. Plush purple armchairs flanked a glass coffee table cluttered with glossy magazines, a half-empty mug of tea, and a vase of wilting orchids that hinted at fleeting fame. Overhead, massive screens flickered with audience tweets, while the floor hummed with the faint vibration of cameras on rails, ready to capture every flinch and flourish. He entered from stage left, his stride measured yet purposeful, like a man navigating a minefield in polished boots. Dressed in a crisp navy blazer over a simple white shirt, no tie, sleeves rolled to reveal a tattoo peeking out, Prince Harry carried himself with the quiet authority of someone who traded crowns for candor. But his fingers twitched slightly at his side, a contradictory tick betraying the storm beneath his composed smile, as if the royal facade was cracking just enough to let vulnerability seep through. Wendy leaned forward, her signature bob swaying, and flashed a megawatt grin. "Prince Harry, welcome to the show, it's an honor. So tell us, what's life like after stepping back from the royal duties? Freedom or just a different kind of cage?" He settled into the chair, crossing his legs with deliberate calm. "It's liberating, Wendy, but freedom comes with its own weights. I've learned that privacy isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for any family. Let's keep it respectful, yeah?" But how long could respect hold when the questions sharpened like knives? The audience erupted in applause, a wave of cheers rolling through the studio as Wendy nodded enthusiastically, her eyes sparkling with that mix of charm and cunning that had built her empire. Enthusiastic clapping fading into murmurs. She adjusted her microphone, the gesture casual, but her producers in the booth exchanged glances. Ratings were already spiking. Harry sat back, his posture relaxed, yet his gaze scanned the crowd like a soldier assessing threats. Wendy started light, as always. "Okay, let's talk about your book." Spare was a bombshell. "What inspired you to bear it all?" Harry chuckled softly, the sound genuine but edged. "Inspiration? More like necessity. Growing up in the spotlight, you lose pieces of yourself. Writing it was about reclaiming them, not settling scores." The crowd hummed approval, a few nods from the front row. But Wendy tilted her head, her voice dipping into that conspiratorial tone. "Reclaiming, huh? And Megan, how's married life treating you two in California? Sunshine and smoothies, or is there more drama we don't see?" He paused, his smile tightening just a fraction. "We're building our life, Wendy. Archie's growing up fast, lil' bit too. It's about family now, away from the noise." The answer was polish, but the audience sensed the undercurrent, a ripple of whispers spreading. In the control room, a producer muttered into her headset, "Push a bit, viewers love the personal stuff." Would the prince bend, or would the host's persistence crack the crown? As the segment rolled on, Wendy circled back to safer ground, philanthropy, his work with Invictus Games. Harry lit up there, his voice warming as he described veterans finding strength in sport. "It's not about pity, it's about power. These men and women remind me what resilience really means." Applause thundered again, and for a moment, the energy felt collaborative, electric. Camera wide shot capturing the crowd's faces lighting up. But Wendy, ever the ratings chaser, sensed the plateau. Her motivation was clear. This interview could be legendary, a career pinnacle if she unearthed something raw. She pivoted smoothly. "Speaking of resilience, let's get real about the family rift. Your brother, the future king, what's the one thing you'd say to him if he were here?" Harry's jaw clenched subtly, his fingers drumming once on the armrest, a micro-movement that betrayed the shift. "I'd say family is everything, but healing takes time. Some wounds are public, others private. Let's not drag them out here." The audience leaned in, a collective breath held, murmurs turning to a low buzz. Producers fidgeted, one signaled to extend the segment. Wendy pressed on, her charisma masking the stake. Her show thrived on spectacle, and a prince's vulnerability was gold. "Come on, Harry, the world's wondering." Money from the royals, did it ever feel like strings attached? And your dad, any regrets about how things went down? The questions landed like jabs, mild at first but probing deeper into personal territory. Harry's eyes narrowed, his dignified layers peeling back to reveal a flicker of frustration. Wendy, I've shared what I can. Money? It's never been about that. Family dynamics are complex. Let's respect the boundaries. Yet boundaries were made to be tested, weren't they? The tone shifted palpably now, the warm opening giving way to a subtle chill. Audience members exchanged glances, some shifting uncomfortably in their seats as the murmurs grew. A young woman in the third row whispered loudly enough to be picked up. She's going too far. In the booth, producers tensed, one barking. Keep rolling, this is viral. Harry deflected again, his voice steady but with an edge sharpening. Look, I've stepped away to protect my own. Regrets? Sure, but they're mine to carry, not dissect on air. Wendy, undeterred, leaned closer, her bias toward drama showing in her insistent smile. But Harry, your fans want the truth. That Oprah interview spilled so much tea. Why stop now? Tell us about the palace secrets, the real cost of leaving. The pivot to personal was complete, her motivation bare, ratings soared with every uncomfortable pause. Harry's reactions deepened, his values clashing against the spectacle, dignity versus exposure. He shifted in his seat, a contradictory detail emerging. The man who'd bared his soul in a book now guarded it fiercely. The audience reaction amplified, a mix of gasps and supportive cheers clashing like thunder. Leave him alone! Someone shouted from the back, while others clapped for more. Producers intervened subtly, a stagehand adjusting lights to heighten the drama. SFX, rising tension music cue. Harry resisted, his answers growing curt. Wendy, this isn't about secrets, it's about humanity. Pushing like this, it's the cost of this world we live in. How much pressure could one man take before the facade shattered? Escalation built like a storm. Wendy, sensing the hook, doubled down. Okay, real talk, your mom's legacy. Does the family ever acknowledge how the media hounded her? And you, do you see echoes in your own life? The question struck a nerve, personal and raw. Harry's face hardened, his layered dignity fraying. My mother, that's sacred ground. The media's role? Devastating. But dragging it here feels like exploitation. The host pushed further, her charismatic facade cracking into persistence. But isn't that why you're here? To speak out? Audience murmurs turned to outright unrest, a wave of boos mixing with applause. Producers paced in the booth, one yelling, "This is gold, don't cut!" Harry's values shone through his reactions, a man fighting for privacy in a public arena. He deflected once more, but the tone was personal now, charged. Wendy, I came for conversation, not interrogation. Respect goes both ways. The mini-climax loomed as tension peaked. Wendy, stakes high for her show's survival in a cutthroat industry, went for the jugular. One last thing, rumors about your finances post-royals. Broke or thriving? And that Netflix deal, worth selling your story? Harry's eyes flashed, the edge turning to resolve. He stood abruptly, fingers ripping at his mic pack with a decisive yank. The audience gasped collectively as he turned toward the exit, his voice booming. This ends now. Would the prince walk away, or had the spectacle claimed another victim? But the action hung in the air, unfinished. The mic clattered to the floor, sharp thud echoing, and Harry paused at the stage edge, the cliffhanger frozen in the spotlights. The producers froze, Wendy gaped, and the audience held its breath. What came next would redefine everything. The studio lights burned hotter now, their amber glow casting long shadows as Prince Harry stood at the stage's edge, his silhouette stark against the pulsing screens. SFX, faint hum of stunned silence. The microphone lay discarded on the floor, a symbol of his defiance, while the audience held a collective breath, caught between shock and awe. Wendy Williams, her charismatic mask slipping, scrambled to her feet, her voice cracking with urgency. Harry, wait, let's talk this out. But the prince's pause wasn't surrender, it was a reckoning. Camera close up on Harry's face, eyes blazing with resolve. He turned slowly, his navy blazer catching the light, and faced the crowd. "This isn't about me anymore," he said, voice low but carrying like thunder. "It's about what we've all normalized, tearing people apart for clicks, for views." The audience erupted, some cheering his stand, others murmuring in discomfort. In the control room, producers panicked, one shouting, "Get him back to the chair!" But the moment was his, and the consequences of his action rippled outward. Could one man's defiance shift the spotlight's cruel glare? The fallout was immediate. Social media exploded, tweets flooded the screens behind him, a mix of hashtag Harry walks out and hashtag Wendy pushed too far trending within minutes. Clips of the mic drop went viral, racking up millions of views before the show's credits rolled. Wendy, her ratings-driven empire shaken, tried to salvage the moment. "Folks, let's give it up for honesty," she called, forcing a laugh, but her eyes darted nervously to the booth. A producer signaled to cut to commercial, but the damage was done. Chaotic chatter swelling. Offstage, Harry strode through the dim corridors, ignoring the stagehand's stunned stares. A young assistant, barely 20, whispered to another, "He's got guts." Harry's phone buzzed incessantly. Texts from Megan, his team, even a missed call from an old friend in London. He didn't stop to check. His focus was singular, his values clear, dignity over spectacle. Outside, paparazzi swarmed, their flashes like gunfire through the studio's glass doors. But would the world see his stand as strength or betrayal? Back inside, the show limped to its close. Wendy, rattled but professional, pivoted to gossip about a pop star's breakup, but the audience's energy had shifted. Some clapped half-heartedly, others whispered about Harry's exit, their reactions amplifying the tension. A woman in the front row tweeted, "He's right, media's a circus. Respect the man." Producers huddled in the booth, dissecting the fallout. "We're trending #1, one said, but another snapped, "At what cost? He's a prince, not a reality star." The public reaction surged beyond the studio. News outlets ran headlines, "Prince Harry storms off talk show," and "Wendy Williams pushes too far?" Pundits debated, some called Harry oversensitive, others praised his courage. On X, posts split down the middle. "He can't handle tough questions," versus "Good for him, calling out the vultures." Meghan's statement, posted hours later, was measured but firm. "We asked for respect, not exploitation." Harry spoke for us all. The world was watching, and the moral question hung heavy. Where was the line between truth and spectacle? Yet whose truth would win in the court of public opinion? Days later, Harry sat in his Montecito home, the Pacific Ocean glinting through wide windows. Archie's laughter echoed from another room, grounding him. He scrolled through the fallout, supportive messages from veterans, criticism from royalists, and think pieces dissecting his rebellion. A text from his brother, William, sat unanswered. "We need to talk." The personal cost was clear now, every stand widened the rift. But Harry's layered dignity held firm. He'd chosen his family over the palace's shadow. Wendy, meanwhile, faced her own consequences. Her show's ratings soared initially, but backlash grew. A petition to cancel Wendy gained traction, accusing her of exploiting vulnerability for profit. She issued an apology on air, her tone softer but still defiant. "I push because I care about the truth," she said, but the audience's murmurs suggested skepticism. Producers urged her to lean into the drama, but Wendy hesitated, sensing the shifting tide. Her charismatic empire, built on spectacle, was cracking under the weight of its own excess. Could a moment of truth reshape an industry built on chaos? The moral lesson crystallized for Harry as he reflected. He'd walked into the lion's den to share his story, not to feed the beast. The cost of spectacle, his mother's pain, his own public dissection, was too high. He penned a brief op-ed, published globally. "Dignity isn't weakness, it's strength. We owe each other respect, not exposure." The piece sparked debate, with some calling it naive, others a wake-up call. Invictus Games saw a surge in donations, proof that his voice still carried power when wielded with purpose. The audience, once a reactive mass, became a mirror for society's split. Some craved the drama, retweeting Wendy's boldest moments. Others rallied behind Harry, sharing stories of their own battles with invasive media. A viral hashtag #RespectOverratings, trended for days, driven by everyday voices, parents, teachers, veterans, who saw their struggles in his. The crew, too, felt the shift, a sound tech quit, citing too much toxicity. The fallout wasn't just personal, it was cultural, a reckoning with how we consumed pain. But would the world listen, or just tune in for the next scandal? As weeks passed, the catharsis settled. Harry and Meghan hosted a small dinner for close friends, laughter filling their home as they toasted to resilience. Clinking glasses, soft music. Wendy's show survived, but her approach softened, her questions less barbed. The industry took note. Talk shows began inviting therapists to discuss boundaries, a small but tangible shift. Harry's stand hadn't toppled the spectacle, but it had cracked its foundation, forcing a pause in the relentless churn. In the quiet of his study, Harry stared at a photo of his mother, her smile frozen in time. Camera, tight shot, his fingers tracing the frame. He'd fought for her legacy, for his children's future, for the right to be human under pressure. The open question lingered, not just for him but for everyone: where was the line between accountability and exploitation? The world had watched, judged, and tweeted, but the answer wasn't in the headlines. It was in the choices made off-camera, in the moments no one filmed. The dust settled, but the echoes of that night lingered. Harry's walkout became a symbol. Some saw rebellion, others dignity. Wendy's empire adapted, but the scars of that clash remained. We all watched, cheering or jeering, but the real question cuts deeper. Who was right? Tell us below. And what will you choose when the spotlight turns on you?